All right, sweet disease. So let's understand why the, I love the Aussie background music. It's actually really cool. So let's understand what this whole carbohydrate sugar thing is all about. So what does everyone know about carbohydrates today? What do you know about them? Bad. They're everywhere, yeah. But I like the bad, like, right? Like what we know today is, oh, avoid them, they're awful, I'm low carb, I'm low carb, I'm no carb. Oh, really? You're no carb. That's funny. You seem like you're alive still, because you wouldn't be if you were truly no carb. That doesn't work. Your brain requires carbohydrate to function. So yeah, you get that though, right? More and more we say, oh, carbs are bad, carbs are bad, carbs are bad, carbs are bad. So does anyone here eat yogurt? It's okay if you do, because I do. I'm a yogurt fan. Okay. So, does anyone here buy low-fat yogurt? It's okay if you say you do. Okay. So, you see what we're doing? What are we doing? We're saying, oh, carbs are good. I'm buying low-fat yogurt. I'm going low-fat because fat's bad. Like, this happens naturally in our world right now still, that we continually push to no or low-fat, when the reality is that is not a place to be, because low-fat or no-fat usually means high carbohydrate or artificial carbohydrate. It means one of those two things. And we got to watch that more than we have to watch the fat. It's like, people say, oh, I love that Chobani. I'm like, I almost love them. If they would make a whole-fat, organic Greek yogurt, then I might love them. I might. I'd be close. It would depend on how many strands of bacteria are present. Then I might really love them if they did a good job there. You know, so there's all these things. So sweet disease, what is this? This is a healthy cell. So you've all got somewhere around 75 trillion that should look like that. Kind of. Not really. Artist rendering. So what those projections are on the outside, that's insulin receptor sites. That's what we're seeing now. Because we're going to talk about insulin real quick here. Sweet disease is the disease of diabetes, and it all comes from insulin. So G is glucose or sugar. So you go out and you eat something with sugar in it. How about a sandwich? Let's just say it's a sandwich. And it's on, you know, freshly milled, home milled, I've milled it myself, super whole wheat bread. And then I've got leafy, greeny stuff, and I've got, you know, I've got a turkey that I shot out in the world myself. I put an arrow through him. And so he's my turkey, and I sliced him up, and I got him on the sandwich, and I grew in my aquaponics garden, and I'll tell you all about my aquaponics garden another time, but in my aquaponics garden, I grew my tomatoes out of there, and I sliced my tomatoes on there as well. And then I had a cow that eats grass, and I took the milk from the cow, and I churned that into some cheese, and I had all sorts of enzymes and all sorts of good probiotics in that cheese as well. So I put that on there too. All right. So what's going to happen to my blood sugar? It's going to go up, right? It's got to go up. I ate something, so it's got to go up. I ate some carbohydrate, it's got to go up some more. And actually, because I ate 2 slices of bread, even though those were really good, healthy slices of bread, it actually probably went up quite a bit. It spiked up. Because every bit of carbohydrate turns to glucose in the bloodstream. Every bit of carbohydrate turns to glucose in the bloodstream. So my tomato did, my leafy green did a little bit, but if you ever read a package of leafy greens, you realize there's not a whole lot of carbohydrate. But all of my bread, total, whew, that's all sugar. So if I read my bread package, it says 26 grams per slice of carbohydrate, and that's really 52 grams of sugar that's going to hit my bloodstream. Okay? That's the way to consider that. That's how it's going to go. It's all turning to sugar. I can't stop it. It's all going to turn. All right, so what's going to happen to my blood sugar? It's going to go up. Did I just show a wet spot? No, I've got dry stuff. But it's going to go up, right? Blood sugar up. So then what's my body going to do? It's going to produce insulin. Yes. Glucose up. Woo, thank you, insulin. And then if that was my lunch and I went back and sat at a desk, once the insulin hits, then what am I going to do? I'm going to sleep. Yeah. Go ahead. Right? Where's the mouse? What happened to... Oh. That's what happens to us. Because the blood sugar goes up, the insulin kicks it, and we bottom out. And so in our world, we tend to do this. So blood sugar is going to drop now because the insulin hit. And so what happens? An arrow is saying, hey, insulin attached to a receptor site opened up a door, and glucose went in. Goodbye, glucose. See you later. Hasta la vista. You're inside of the cell now. Which could be good, except if there's too much of it, right? My cell doesn't need all that for ATP, for energy. Now it's like, what's going to happen? Oh, we better store that. Make that fat. Store that as fat. Fat? No, we're not going to store fat as fat. We're going to store sugar as fat. It's an important thing to get. People do not get that. You should get that. That's the problem. So, what's going to happen to glucose? Well, it's got to go down, right? We've got to reduce, oh, ATP, energy, yeah, of course, that first. Now glucose goes down. This is an important comparison between the two. Insulin's higher, isn't it? That's the reality of what happens. Insulin stays higher. Insulin doesn't go down with glucose. It slowly drifts. Glucose just got shoved into your cells to be taken out of your bloodstream. Insulin's not going that way. It's getting filtered out slowly. So insulin stays high. So if I do that again, before my insulin ever dropped, right? So I had my lunch, and then I'm falling asleep, and after 2 hours of fighting sleep, I'm like, man, I need a sugar kick or something. I go get something that's got some sugar in it. You know, it could be just an orange. A lot of sugar in an orange. I take that orange in, blood sugar back up. I'm up. I'm up. Insulin's got to come out. It's already out. Hey, now more's got to come out. Drive that out. And so what happens is we ride the roller coaster of insulin up. Glucose up and down, but insulin up. Sorry. That's what that looks like, right? I've got insulin's up, not down, it's up. And glucose is going up and down, up and down, up and down. And so I'm burning away my sensitivity to insulin. Because it's always there. The insulin's just always there. So now I'm like, oh, I don't need all these receptor sites. What's the point? This stuff is everywhere. I'm better off if I have less receptor sites. So as I move in that direction, I am becoming more and more insulin resistant. Now I don't respond to insulin. If I don't respond to insulin, I don't take blood sugar out of my bloodstream. And I'm working my way into type 2 diabetes. And I don't know it, though, because my glucose has been pretty good. And I've tested my glucose, but I've never tested my insulin or my leptin, the more important hormone that we'll save for the next workshop, that matches insulin perfectly. I'm only focused on glucose. That's all I care about is glucose. So my doctor said, keep doing what I'm doing, so I'm doing what I'm doing. It's a good idea to do what I do. You wish you could have blood sugar like me. I can eat anything I want. My blood sugar's great. I hear that from people who I think, oh boy, oh man, you're about to run off the cliff. And it's a whole lot easier to reverse falling off the cliff than it is to put the brakes on when you're on top of it still. It really is. It really is. So what we see here is the dis-ease of the cell before the disease. Right? It's dis-ease. It's not functioning well. And then, of course, we're going to end up with this. Super elevation, out of control, glucose, insulin through the roof. So this slide I spent a good amount of time on. Why? You should know it inside and out. You should understand it inside and out. Someone who has to lose 50 pounds, someone who has to eat every 90 minutes. You're exactly the same when it comes to this. It's the exact same thing. Your body is dependent on ongoing constant blood sugar. You have a metabolic effort in the cell, so it uses up more of that sugar, burns it off. But I've had women who are 90 pounds who have the same issues with their leptin and insulin as women who have 50 pounds of extra weight or 100 pounds. Exact same issue. It's just that they totally represent it differently. And so what does that 90-pound woman have? Hormonal issues. Just like the other. You know, it's those two, it's an amazing thing. It comes down to, are you eating right and are you a sugar addict or not? Who's a sugar addict? Yeah, that's the way it goes. So We are. We crave it in all sorts of forms. You might not like the sweet on your tongue. And people say, oh, no, I don't eat any sugar. My father-in-law says that. I don't eat any sugar, which is crazy. He actually eats a ton of actual sweet sugar. But he thinks he eats no sugar. And then he puts sugar on the cereal. Like, do you know your cereal is sugar? Even if it's a non-sugar cereal, right? Just chop up a bunch of oats. Plain oatmeal, it's all going to turn to sugar, okay? There's no sweetness in it. It's all turning to sugar. And then you put sugar on it because that doesn't taste good at all, right? Oh, no! We are running off the cliff. Running off of the cliff. All right, so let's move on to another slide. We'll talk a little bit about some of the specific things here in a second. So what is this diet plan in the 60-day? The 60-day diet plan that we have, these 3 diets are what we're going to teach you. Maximize Living Advanced Plan. This is the key. It comes out of this book. So in your $49 registration fee, it includes one of these. If you have one of these, it's a $29 registration fee. So if you already have one, then it's cheaper. That's the Maximize Living Advanced Plan. It's much like paleo in many, many ways. We definitely are no grain during the advanced plan period. We are definitely going to reduce your sugar down to hardly anything at all. When I say hardly anything, I mean a handful of berries once to maybe every other day. Yeah, it's cool. That's the advanced plan. Now, the issue I have with the paleo plan is that it doesn't say we have to reduce those natural sugars over there. Now, we can tidy paleo up, and we can say, well, let's get away from maple syrup and honey. Let's get away from those. Let's just not do those sweeteners. Let's get away from agave. Let's get away from sucanat. Let's get away from all those things. Let's get away from coconut nectar. Let's get away from all of that, and let's pull down just a fruit. But I've done that with people who say, well, I really want to do this paleo thing. I'm like, okay, cool. And then we go like 3-4 weeks in. I'm like, okay, well, what are you eating? Well, I'm eating, I'm eating some fruit, a lot of veggies, some healthy, clean meats. I'm like, okay, how you doing with, how things changing? How do you feel inflammatory-wise? Are we dropping water weight? Are you in this place where you're losing weight? What's your energy? Nothing's really changing yet. Okay, stop everything. Just tell me the last 2 days, what fruits have you had and what quantity? I probably had like 3 bananas yesterday morning. Then I had grapes. Oh, I love grapes. I had lots of grapes. So all of a sudden you realize, oh, wow, that's funny. You're a sugar addict. And you're converting your sugar addiction from sugars out in the world to one of the most highly glycemic fruits you can get your hands on. And at what quantities can I do? I got a sweet potato like for breakfast and for lunch and snack between breakfast and lunch. And then, so we take root vegetables out completely. Minus onion. You can have onion. Otherwise, goodbye. Legumes, we kill those guys too, minus lentils. Yeah, let's have some lentils. And chickpeas in moderation. Real cautious about what's inflammatory and also what's glycemic. At the end of this whole thing in 60 days, you'll know why. If you're sitting there right now saying, well, why? Why would you say that? You'll know why at the end of 60 days. Because my belief is that if you know why, you'll do it better. You don't know why? What's that guy know anyways? Give me that jar of peanut butter. No, I love peanut butter. I love it. I love it. But I also know every time I take a scoop of it, oh, it's inflammatory. It's all get out. And I know that. And so it limits me to just a scoop. And then I grab the almond butter and try to cover it up with almond butter. Like maybe it'll bolus around it and I'll never even digest the peanut butter. It's only in my taste buds. That'd be cool, right? But that'd be artificial and that's not cool. So then the Maximize Living Core Plan. In the Core Plan, I got this book over here as well. This is how my family lives our life on the Core Plan most of the time. And that means we eat grains, but we just control them significantly. And we look at them as eating a healthy grain versus an unhealthy grain. Because for me, it's biblical. That's where I am. I believe, hey, the Bible, I trust it. So I go with that. So I think grains are important. But someone else, like Sue Becker, anyone know her? She might say, well, yeah, if you're biblical, then you should just eat grains like crazy, man. It's our daily bread. Like, okay, well, if you start producing all of your bread products without electricity, then you come back to me and tell me in 2 weeks how much bread you've eaten. And you're probably going to be at the right level. You get what I'm saying there? Like I can go throw some grain into a grinder, into a mill, and I can throw all that into a machine to make bread, and I can do that all really fast and really cool, and I can produce myself all sorts of bread. If I have to grind that, I'm not gonna, yeah, you're gonna get a loaf out of me in a week. Sorry. So, and that's why I think there's room for it, but I think everyone has to go without it at first, and then depending on how bad you've messed yourself up in the past, you might need to stay away from it forever. Because gluten is an inflammatory molecule that does real serious damage in the body. It does blood vessels swelled up and scarred kind of damage in the body. And in some bodies, it does it no matter what you do, it will still do it. You cleanse, you clean. You clear the gut out, and you're still going to be gluten sensitive. You can go gluten-free for 3 years and come back to it and realize, you know, I'm still gluten sensitive. So that person, you just got to watch that. Cool? Makes sense? Scary? I hate the stuff you're saying to me. I love my bread. So the primary objective, create life change through short-term commitment that gives way to lifetime change. 60 days is short-term. Sorry. I know some of you are like, what are you talking about? That's crazy long. Yes. Now, what we'll do is we will teach you all, and we'll basically say, hey, I want everyone to go along with the hardest one. And then as you kind of fall off of that, we'll make sure that you know each of those other plans. That's kind of how they work. The core plan, I really want the core plan to be nothing but a graduate plan for after 60 days. Grain, you don't need that part at all. Now, the core plan does allow you some more root vegetables too, though. So does paleo. So you could just say, paleo might fit me really, really well. Also, in the advanced plan, I'm okay with some dairy, depending on who you are and how you respond to it. Again, it's just like gluten. If you have a significant response to dairy, you're probably having one to casein. Everyone says, I'm lactose intolerant. So you did a lactose threshold test to see? Well, I've not tested. Well, then I'm going to guess you're more likely casein intolerant than lactose intolerant. Why? Because lactose is a sugar, and most people do not have major allergies to sugars. Some people do, but most do not. Most people have major allergies to proteins, casein. That's the allergy. So if we go raw grass-fed, you'd probably be fine. I've had tons of my sister-in-law, she can't eat dairy. She can eat raw grass-fed. I was like, you should try raw grass-fed. She's like, oh, no, I can't. I just try a little bit. So we had to try some cheese. A little bite. I feel okay. I don't feel anything. A little bite. Unfortunately, she ate like half a pound of cheese. Because she hadn't eaten it in years. She's like, this is amazing. I love this. I'm like, okay, just so you know, that's $18 a pound that you're eating right there. So please, if you're going to keep eating it, write me a check. So yeah, you just got to moderate there. So, but Maximize Living Advanced Plan would allow that. We just want to be cautious. So, and we'll talk more about what does caution mean. That's Foundations 2. All right, seeking small changes daily will give rise to lifelong changes. Make habits wherever you can. These are kind of the principles that we live by. Is all right, if I continue to seek small changes, I'm looking for small change, small change, small change, small change. At the end of 60 days, you'll be amazed at how much stuff sticks. You're just amazed at how much stuff just sticks with you. Like, wow, I'm really shocked. I mean, I eat these foods now. I like the flavor of kale. It tastes good. And just things like that. You'll be changed. You'll be changed. Red peppers. Anyone's done this for a while knows red peppers are sweet. I mean, they're crazy sweet. There's sugar enough. Healing diet. Yes, good call. Thank you. So healing diet, if you've heard me use that term or heard that term thrown around, and the Maximize Living Advanced Plan, same diet. So you can find a lot out there in the internet world on the healing diet. Same plan, same thing. Just a part of this group that I'm part of, which is Maximize Living. So I've been part of Maximize Living for about 9 years or so now. The guy who brought the diet to us, he called it a healing diet, and then he broke free and said, I'm leaving you guys, and I'm doing it over here. So they said, okay, we'll change what we call this so we don't end up in a legal battle over a name. So same diet though.